The Sixers have officially announced Joel Embiid out for the remainder of the NBA season here, and this frankly had just been the season from hell for your Sixers. The only thing that can really make this season worse for the Sixers at this point is if they actually start winning games and they find themselves outside of the top six of the lottery here. But just talking from a Joel Embiid fan standpoint, this has probably been looming for a while now. All the buildup with that knee and just his career injuries. At some point, they were going to take this toll. And frankly, it probably happened at the end of last season. Of course, the Kuminga injury, Joel Embiid coming back from that, trying to make that playoff push. And frankly, he just did not look right when returning back from that injury. And especially, I believe he actually re-injured that injury against the Magic in one of the final 8 regular season games. And he just did not look the same in the playoffs. He still played rather well against the Knicks, but you could just see he was a shell of his former self, really. And to coming to the Olympics, he really just did not look well. A lot of people attribute that to him adjusting to the Olympic game, but he frankly just did not look physically mobile. There were times where he couldn't jump, and frankly, that's just kind of blended into the season. Of course, he was not ready for the start of the season here, and all these reports coming out about the injections that he's been having to get in his knee, different types of surgeries that might be taking place with Joel Embiid, of what he needs to do to overcome this injury. But when you have Joel Embiid's camp and the Sixers kind of both agreeing that they have to search for alternative options outside of certain surgeries, it really just is not a good look whatsoever for Joel Embiid's physical performance here. And I mean, that knee has had so much issues with it. I believe his entire meniscus at this point is, I believe, removed, and he's just having more and more injuries to deal with that knee, and it's probably something that he's never going to be able to overcome. There's not really a meniscus repair surgery that will allow him to kind of get back to his former self here. And this is kind of what the Sixers, I feel, have been kind of saying to the fans from this perspective, is it's just something that he has to get used to, because there really is no surgical fix that at least they're aware of. And of course, I'm not a doctor. I'm not aware of anything. But when you get conflicting reports of Joel Embiid's camp saying, hey, they might have to go through surgeries, what kind of surgeries are there that is going to help this really repair his knee? Because I believe his meniscus just frankly is not there anymore, or there's so much little of it with all the injuries that have occurred to it. I know that they were talking somewhat about the Lonzo meniscus repair surgery, but that's a completely different circumstance for Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid's older. He's in his 30s. He's had so much damage to that knee already. And if you take a look at Lonzo right now, Lonzo was able to overcome that injury, but frankly, Lonzo has not looked the same. And Lonzo was a young athlete. Like, Lonzo was in his athletic prime, being that from 22 to 25 range. And for Joel Embiid to have to undergo that surgery, who is a lot heavier than Lonzo, has had a ton more injuries and damage to that knee. When you talk about Lonzo damn near missing 2 years, imagine what Joel Embiid will have to do to come and overcome that surgery. It would at least be a season on top of the rest of this season, or potentially 2. And he's talked about the mental fortitude of overcoming all these injuries. Frankly, I just don't think that he would have it in him to really return at that rate if he were to opt into that type of surgery. Of course, there was another surgery proposed where it's you actually break your hip and then you do something like that to repair the knee. I'm not sure of the specifics, but even that's causing a whole new other injury to his body to try and repair this knee. And at some point, if you're Joel Embiid, you also have to think about the rest of your life and being able to do other tasks outside of your playing career. And at this rate, your playing career only has 3 to 4 years, maybe max. And that's if you don't retire early due to injuries. And as a fan of Joel Embiid, I've been lucky enough to watch him come into the league as a rookie, really come into his own, become one of the best top 10 players in the league, become an MVP, a perennial MVP candidate. And it's really just sad to kind of see how all these injuries have kind of come home to take its toll on him. And from a Sixers perspective here, you're doing everything in your power to try and have Joel Embiid regain a little bit of that magic that he had even last year before the Kuminga injury. but especially from seasons before that, because you're tied to him financially for the next 5 years after giving him that extension. And that extension is going to age worse by worse on the daily here. And it's going to be frowned upon why that move was made when it was made. Understandably, you sign Paul George, you extend Tyrese Maxey, you just want to lock in that core. But really, there was no need outside of the fact that Joel Embiid would have been either here for the next 2 years and likely would have stayed if this did not happen and if he continued to play out his performance. But the only real reason why you would have given them that contract at that time is just to lock down your core and maybe have Joel Embiid do some more recruiting from that standpoint and making sure he has the security. But was it really worth it at this rate? And then coming back from an Embiid fan perspective, hopefully he can just come back if he opts to and becomes a serviceable NBA player. He's going to have to adjust his game because, frankly, after this injury and what he's looked like this season, he can't be that guy anymore. He can't be that guy who dictates both the offense and the defense on both sides of the floor. He's going to have to adjust his play style. He's not going to be able to be that high usage rate player that he's been throughout his career, and he's going to have to take a huge, massive step back if he wants to return and have himself a longer career here, or else it's just going to be the same outcome after same outcome. There's been so much pressure and weight on his body and all this damage that has been done to his lower body, whether it's the foot, knees, or even some of the fluke injuries, whether it was the orbital fractures and even like some of the thumb injuries and the hand injuries that he's occurred. Like his body has been through some shit, to say the least. And if you're Joel Embiid, hopefully it doesn't have to come to this, but you have to think of your life beyond basketball, because your career probably only has 3 to 5 more years, if that, max. So from a human perspective, it really sucks for Joel Embiid. You'd like to see him come back and probably hopefully finish his career how he wanted. And I don't want to do this whole entire thing of Joel Embiid's career perspective of how it could have been more, but hopefully just from a human standpoint, he's able to return and become the player that he once was, or at least rekindle a little bit of that magic that he had for so many years. So, prayers to the big fella. You'd like to see him come back, but at this rate, probably not a good chance, and we might be seeing the decline of Joel Embiid's NBA career here.